respond to that question, where will you stand when it comes to government giving priority to education?
Well, the numbers tell the story. I mean, like I said, the United Nations a couple of years ago gave a recommendation that for every nation in their national budget, the minimum should be 15% allocated to education. Year on year, we've had a steady decline in what we've allocated to education in Nigeria. So, I mean, the numbers tell the story. And show me the investment a nation places in education, and I'll show you a nation that is either serious or not.
Right.
It's pretty simple, because it's not just a cliche when we say that the young people in any society are the future of any nation. It's literally just common sense. So it's not being cliche or just having some quotable quotes. It's just what it is.
Right.
But when we have a system where there isn't enough investment, where there is almost abject neglect to the educational sector, then we can start talking about different ills in society. We're talking about issues of insecurity. How else do we have issues of insecurity?
Well,
we have the most out-of-school children in the world. Over 5 million. 5 million is the population of some nations put together. Nations that have borders, sovereign nations that have passports, have that are recognized by the United Nations. Male, female, adult, young. Less than 5 million. We have that population out of school children. And every day we talk about insecurity, every day we talk about ills in society, every day we talk about different challenges. It's really not rocket science, because it's just shown that we're not really serious about development, generally speaking.
Okay.
Dr. Saidu, I'm just going to echo some of the thoughts of some people. They say, he who is down fears no fall. That before the strike, the one we had in 2020, the one we had in the one we are presently having, that the educational system was down. They said the quality wasn't there. We have students who are half-baked. We have lecturers who weren't sound that much to help cater to the needs of the kids. And here we go. I just want to get a sense of what the lecturers are trying to do. Are they trying to salvage the educational sector all by themselves through this strike, or they are trying to get an unwilling horse, which is the federal government in this case, to get to the pond to drink?
Thank you so much. What is happening is that they are trying to save the entire system from imminent collapse. What we are fighting for is for the future of this country, because the population of people coming to the public university compared to the private is humongous. And look at the infrastructure at the university. It's not to write home about. You will see a microscope. Over 1,000 students will be struggling for it. You come to a classroom, congested. Hostel, not to write home about it. Talk about the motivation of the lecturer. Comparing, are we attracting anybody to this? Like before, 60, you see people all over the world. You should attract the 20% of your lecturers to come outside so that they can tell us new things that is happening in Nigeria. But to the best of our knowledge, instead of our lecturers are going outside the country. Even with the little effort we are making, the one we are calling her big, even the foreigner, they are looking for them to employ them. You can see doctors now, teachers migrating, brain drain all over the places. Because when they get to that environment that is conducive, the best come out of them. Because we are losing opportunity, both sides. Students are going outside to teach. Lecturers are going outside. Then before you know, the system will be empty. Then where is going to be the future? Are we not? We are sitting on a keg of gunpowder. And what that is doing is fighting for the entire system from total collapse. But because society don't really know what is happening, they will not take it. No, it's not about it's about the entire system.
Okay.
We don't even need, you can take a look at some of the universities. You see the number of students, people getting lecture through the window. People sitting on the floor, under the tree. When you go outside the country, you study outside the country, you will see the environment that lecture takes place. Okay. Very conducive. The best compared with little we had, we are still giving it.
Okay.
And that is why some of us that are still here is because of the law we have for this country.
Oh, okay.
And if everybody is low, then there'll be no future.
I'm sure that everybody can't even leave the country in the first. So for you, Dikpo, would you also say that government is an enabler in this current situation? Because if we keep having day in, day out, private universities being licensed, and then we keep having number of private universities here and there, even when they do not have, obviously they do not even have the structure and the capacity to even take on the bulk of the students here. And yet we have public universities clamoring for help in the face of all that is going on. Would we say that there's a need for government to backtrack a bit and perhaps halt the licensing of private universities so that we can at least take a look at where we are and see where the situation can be arrested, rather than have an imminent collapse of private or public university system in Nigeria?
I don't believe one has anything to do with the other. I believe two things can be true. You can license, you can give licenses to private universities, at the same time still invest in public universities.
Okay.
All the government is doing is giving licenses. And I would expect that a system that is serious, before you issue out licenses, there are certain checks that they need to have done.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's just giving licenses. If there's a minimum number of or minimum level of infrastructure that needs to be in place before you receive your license or before a license is issued to you, I believe that should be in place. But also saying that maybe halting it, because in the end, you find that these days, even in the middle of the strike, a lot of parents are saying, okay, you know what, we don't know when this is going to end. Maybe you're in 200 level or 300, go to private university and go and start.
Okay.
All over again, because for some people they're seeing it as alternatives. And I also believe that there is maybe this misconception that folks that go to private universities are from parents that are always well-to-do, which isn't always true. We have a lot of parents who have
also struggle through,
sell all kinds of things, go into debt to ensure that their children at least have a future.
But is
and
this
that
not
4
able
years
to,
is 4 years.
Is this not able to further kill the public universities if there is an alternative to go find your education somewhere?
No, because everywhere around the world there are private institutions, there are public institutions. One shouldn't have to, it shouldn't be a matter of either or. It should be a matter of choice.
You've got the idea. GoDaddy has the domain to make it happen.
It should be a matter of choice. Okay, so many years ago, I'm sure in the 80s now, it wasn't always fashionable to attend private primary schools because the government schools were functional. At some point, the private institutions came about, and because in the end, invariably, whether we like it or not, it is a business, and people are in it to make money. So people said, okay, you know what, maybe I'll send my child to this school because it gives me some form of class. Not because at the time they weren't getting the quality, but there was also a reason behind it. If you go to the United States of America today, you have private universities, you have public universities. There are people that go to private universities, maybe like Harvard's and the Yale's, mostly because of the network they'll get from it.
Okay.
You go anywhere, you say, I'm a Harvard alum, and it opens certain doors for you. It's just what it is. So I don't believe it's a conversation of either or. Both of them can exist, and those two truths can be true. Those two scenarios can be true. So yes, the licensing the private universities aren't the challenge here. It is the deliberate. Okay, so if we're saying it's the private universities, how about the investment in primary education and secondary education? It's practically non-existent. So are we going to say maybe it's because of licensing private universities or private secondary schools or primary schools? It has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with it. We just have a government that isn't quite sensitive to the investment they need to pay into education as a sector and as a whole. So it's not an issue of maybe it's a private institution or not.
Or public.
Let me just get a sense of what is happening here. Perhaps you can help me, Dr. Seidu.
Yeah.
What is it that the government doesn't get about your demands that has taken this long for them to answer? What is so difficult about... I'm a little bit curious because the kids are even saying that they should sack all the lecturers. That's what Nance is saying because they have kept them at home. But I don't understand it. Perhaps give us a sense of what exactly are you demanding that government don't want to accede to that has made them leave the system that is down there in perpetuity.
Well, I'm not in the best position to just speak because neither I'm an ASU president or ASU chairman, but being part of the system, just what I can say is that, you see, there are what they call revitalization funds. Those are the money that is meant to upgrade infrastructure at the university. Because one thing is this, not about setting up different universities, it's about funding. It's about funding. You travel outside the country, you see a university, maybe just in one building, but everything that is needed, you find at the university here. But you see, they are giving licenses to university, duplicating courses that are already existing. And all right, so in the university, what we are saying is that the number of classrooms is inadequate. The infrastructure is totally at a very condemnable stage. And the laboratory, you go to the laboratory, need to be upgraded to international standard because you are saying you want quality education. This to whom much is given, much is also expected. Good quality input will give you quality output. So as we since that, please put enough resources so that the environment of the university will be conducive enough. There will be enough books in the library. There will be a good laboratory that will meet the international standards. That any other person can come to Nigeria, say, I want to come and study. A lecturer can come from all over the world, I want to come and do this. So that the nation can be competitive. Okay. So to stem the issue of these people going outside the country, spending so much money to go to UK, India, whatever you are looking for, is right here in Nigeria. So that we can even attract foreign lecturers to come to Nigeria. So they strike a balance. That is a very simple thing. And most of those people you are seeing in government, they pass through this public university. Right. And look at the population alone in the public university. 95%. What is the number of people in the private is so few. Go to even secondary school now. Go and look at the population. Some classes you will see 300, 500, whatever. And all over the world in Harvard University, you see ratio lecturer to students about 1 to 515. But here in Nigeria, it's humongous. It's challenging. Lecturers are often frustrated. Am I right? So that is what we are saying. Let it get it right. Do the right thing. Right. Shouldn't be talking about something that you know. That when they travel outside the country, they take their children outside the country, they go back. Why can't they come and duplicate what they see outside here in Nigeria? Look at our Nigeria Airways before. Did you hear anything? Everything is collapsing. Right. So we need re-engineering. We need what they call intervention or emergency in the sector. That is emergency that we are clamoring for. That they need to look at this critical sector. It's sick already. Inject enough funds. Make people happy. Attract people to come there. Make the environment happy. So by the student graduate from university, we can be among the top rated universities all over the world. And that is what we are fighting for the system. Betterment of the system. Betterment of the society.
Pretty simple request, I must say. But from what you said, so
Jermaine, report that is Jermaine and robust.
Putting our minds or trying to get a sense of what government is thinking, they seem not to be following in this regard as to what you're requesting for. Let
me just say, they know what is happening. They are just playing game. At this, when did we have our independence? Nigeria first took over, we are just talking about the same old story again. Things that we know. Sir, you are seated here. Is that not education I brought you here? That is it. We are taking development cannot take place without quality education, without quality teaching. We need money for research. We need money to equip the laboratories. We need money to build hostels enough so that students can come. So there is no point of 1 or 2 people because you are just where to do. You take your children to this. How many? The son of the selling pepper seller, tomato, whatever. They need to come. Education is our right. It's our right. Okay. It's our right. And we must enjoy it.
Let me come to you here, Mr. Yewole. I mean, valid points that he's raised here, especially when it comes to the student-lecturer ratio. That is one thing that is global, that should actually be also a trend here, but we don't see that. These are also things that have gone wrong for years, and it will take divine intervention for these things to be corrected. But if you take a look at some government's current approach to the request of ASU, the request of SANU, the request of the polytechnic lecturers, genuinely, do you think that government is addressing it in the best manner possible here, so that issues like this will not be a reoccurrence? Because it looks like everything about the education sector now is strike, 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 and it doesn't even look like the strike is actually even solving some of these issues anymore. So, how best can this be looked into? ASU is clamoring for agreement that was signed in 2009. This is 2022. These issues have still not been solved. So where do we go from here if genuinely government is serious about repositioning education?
I'll take it from the last thing you said. If genuinely government is serious about, so that is, it's about good faith. Are they negotiating in good faith? Are they having the conversations in good faith? Are they genuinely serious about having it solved? That is the question that a lot of us are asking, and unfortunately, maybe no one in this room can answer. But this much I will say, that for a nation that keeps complaining that we're broke, that has all sorts of excuses saying we don't have enough resources, we don't
have the money to pay.
You don't have the money to pay, and then we see you spend money on all sorts of frivolities that aren't priorities. I would say that we're not quite serious about it. I'll bring from this perspective. Now, I'm sure Doctor will also confirm that ideally, for any serious nation that has anywhere that they're going remotely with visionary leadership, there is always a set destination. So the question is, how do we get there? Part of how we'll get there is being able to equip the young people that we have now over the next 5, 10, 15 years to be able to drive us there, either maybe while they're in school or when they're in the labor market. We don't have that. Here, people just go to school, get a degree, study engineering, you end up selling cupcakes, and that's what it is. Because there isn't a clear-cut direction. Today we talk about several nations, maybe like Singapore and nations South Korea. You go to school, there is a national orientation that as a nation, this is where we want to be, this is where we're going. So you go to school, you're equipped with what you need to know, so that you can be of value to the same society that trained you.
Okay.
Nobody's saying you can't go anywhere. Fine, you want to go somewhere. It happens. Migration has been a human thing from the dawn of time. There's nothing wrong with that. However, the ones that are left behind, how productive are they to the society? How valuable are they to the society? But like he said, quality inputs, quality output. You can't get what you don't give. So what you get as a quality of the value of the people within, either in terms of productivity or in terms of what they bring to the table, is about what you've invested in them. And we can, of course, I'm a huge advocate of personal development, right? But in the end, in this kind of system, how much can people really get done with it? Yes, we'll say, okay, maybe go to the internet, it's free and all of that. But you'd be surprised how many people cannot even afford maybe a gigabyte of data in a week because of the economic situation. Now, that's another conversation. But what we're saying is this. The government should get serious and should be genuine about solving this issue, because in the end, it doesn't serve us well in any way, shape, or form. You have a lot of young people who are out of school due to the strike. You have another batch that have been out of school because they have never been in school. That is an increasing population. Now you have all of these numbers put together. An idle youth population is a recipe for disaster. Let us be very sincere with ourselves, and so that we don't come back next year on the same platform and then we start talking about maybe heightened issues of insecurity or heightened issues of looting, rioting, and all of these things. We should have the conversation now, and they should listen and listen good.
Okay.
This isn't about attacking the government. It's so that we can all get serious about knowing what we're doing and secure our future together.
Doctor, is this a pointer to the fact that something is absolutely wrong? Because we have students now on the roads, Lagos, Abeokuta, Lagos, Ibadan. They actually ground every activity on that axis to a halt last week. Yesterday, it was the airport. And people had to struggle to catch their flights. They had to walk long distances. And we've got so many of them, they've engaged in other nefarious activities. Over 20.2 million between the ages of 6 and 18 are out of school in Nigeria. That's UNESCO number.
Exactly.
Are we there yet, or is we're just at just the tipping point at the moment?
Thank you very much. That's a very good question. There's a saying that you cannot beat a child and say that child should not cry. An idle mind is a devil workshop. You can see the number of days they are doing nothing, trying to get something. It's not even visible or reasonable for students to be out of school for 1 month without doing anything. The ministry return will set in. And that is why the students, before you know, their mind is gradually, becoming so violent that the government of the country is no longer taking their lives seriously. Because they have vision. Because you don't have vision, you go nowhere. This is education. Upon all the sector of the economy, let me critically look at this. These young people need to go to school. They need to settle. If they are future leader. Because in government, one day somebody will retire. Who will take over? They say success without successor is a successful failure. We are the future generation. There is a vacuum, there is a gap. Because people retire, like a number of doctors, maybe they retire. And there's no new one to take over. Then there's a gap. We are sitting on the keg of powder. So I think the youth are becoming so worrisome, whether indeed they really have a leader or not. Because if this right, even after 1 or 2 months, supposed to have been curtailed. And just like what I've said, I remember 2009 today, you see, the government is playing game,
Right.
Playing game.
As we close this morning,
the society need to parent everybody, religious leader, civil rights organization, they should rise up and challenge this Leviathan system we are in.
Right.
Because no serious-minded government will sit and watch this type of situation
continue.
And we have reached the climax now that anything could happen.
Can happen, right. As we close this morning, let me close with you. In few seconds, we do know, we're not even sure when the strike will end. We don't know how much more we need to wait. ASU and government still should be meeting today. But in all of this, and we do know that there's a serious problem somewhere. But as young people, what would be your advice to young people today as we're speaking? Yes, there's a problem with the system, but should that also be a way out for them to also indulge in various nefarious activities?
No, it isn't. And yes, I mean, I must commend the young people of Nigeria. Quite industrious. I mean, there are people that even while school was in session, they were running businesses anyway, getting productive. So now that ASU has been on strike, a lot of them they face their businesses squarely. But for some that maybe haven't had an idea of what they will be doing with their time so far, I would say this: it's time to equip yourself. Either ASU is on strike or not. Equip yourself. Maybe learn a skill. Maybe it's not so easy to start a business because, I mean, a capital of 20K can be an issue for somebody right now.
Right.
But if it is possible, start something. Learn something. Get internships. There's a gentleman I engaged last month, trying to get him an internship somewhere with a car manufacturing company. He's a 100-level student of mechanical engineering at Federal University. So get internships, because I would say this: today they don't care about your future. You should invest in your future with that time, because even when you do go back to school, you do graduate, these are things that you can always put in your CV to say that, you know what, I was productive. During this period, I learned this skill. During this period, I went for this internship. During this period, I started this business. This is how I have been able to equip myself. This is how I have been able to add value to myself. So yes, it is the time to invest in yourself. They don't want to invest in you. Invest in yourself. Okay. You have only one life, only one future. Please do that.
If you have only one life, invest in your future. Thank you very much, Mr. Dikpo Oyewole, a public affairs analyst, for joining us this morning. And of course,